Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video. As in its forerunner, Game of Thrones, someone sadly perished in each episode of House of the Dragon this season, but each death impacted harder than the last. We just experienced the heartbreaking season finale of the series, and we can't keep calm. Characters were frequently killed off in Game of Thrones, and it was a sin to build attachments to them. No one was secure, and House of the Dragon is no exception. Many tragic deaths have already transpired despite just one season being aired so far. Fire and Blood, the compilation outlining the origins of House Targaryen, was developed and improved upon episode by episode as the series progressed. While some deaths, like that of the Crab Feeder, were unplanned or occurred off-screen, others, like King Viserys, were well-earned and tragic. Overall, seeing these deaths was incredibly frightening, harsh, and horrifying. House of the Dragon captivated spectators for 10 weeks, either via intensely personal moments or gripping and terrifying action sequences. Let us explore the top 10 horrific and saddest deaths from this season in our video today. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. King Viserys' slow death. As House of the Dragon progresses, Viserys loses his mind, and his life is lost at the conclusion of the season. His death is heartbreaking for a variety of reasons. First of all, despite his weaknesses, he's likable, and his devotion to Rhaenyra is endearing and honorable in a society full of toxic relationships. King Viserys ultimately intervened in an effort to settle the situation after making a string of mistakes that unintentionally endangered the stability of the entire kingdom, including designating his daughter heir and getting married out of love. He almost succeeded as well, and although it was heartwarming to witness him stumbling into the throne hall to defend his daughter before giving an eloquent dinner speech urging his family to refrain from fighting, things took on even more significance toward the conclusion. Viserys is attempting to focus his wandering attention on the subject that has consumed him for so long while lying in bed and is once again delirious from milk of the poppy. He wants to concentrate on the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy in this instance. You know, the entire prince that was promised thing, which he discussed with Rhaenyra in the first episode. By bringing up Aegon the Conqueror, Viserys accidentally leads Alicent to believe he's designating their son as the heir, when in fact he thinks he's speaking to Rhaenyra. It's the heartbreaking conclusion to a life ruined by striving and failing to act morally. The truly moving scene, however, occurs after she has left the room. "No more!" moans Viserys while reaching for the sky above the bed. Then, as the image fades to dark, we hear him say, "My love," as his dying word. Furthermore, Alicent misunderstands Viserys' explanation of the dragon's dreams and exploits his words to undermine his legacy. Alicent advocates for Aegon II, whereas he wanted Rhaenyra to hold the throne. Tragically, Viserys' final words are, "My love," and it's obvious that he's reuniting with his beloved Aemma. Viserys Valerian and his dragon, Arax. Dragons appear to be unstoppable forces of battle, but Prince Viserys Valerian's personal dragon, Arax, has shown this is untrue. The aforementioned flying lizards are among the outstanding features of the House of the Dragon, from the enormous Balerion the Black Dread, all the way to the swift and potent melees. These magical fire-breathing creatures appear in all sizes and kinds. Viserys Valerian's personal mount Arax was the newest addition to the cast, but poor Arax hardly got a chance to shine when he met Vhagar in an unpleasant circumstance. The most awful and sad deaths are sometimes made more horrific by fleeting glimpses of optimism. That is what makes the death of young Prince Viserys so egregiously terrible. When Vhagar unveiled herself at Storm's End, viewers knew horrible things were inevitable. Yet, for a split second, as Aemon pursues Luke into the air, it could have seemed like he was free. Vhagar, however, had other plans. Arax, one of the primary dragons in Season 1 of House of the Dragon, also renders his one and only cameo, retaliating against and enraging Vhagar in an extraordinary attempt to save its rider. The Dance of the Dragons is sparked by Vhagar's careening through the skies to sever Arax into pieces. It's particularly unfortunate for the Blacks to lose Arax, since they'll require every dragon they can amass for the next conflict. It was extremely horrifying to see Aemond and Vhagar chase after Viserys and Arax while the biggest dragon in the entire world kills one of the tiniest. Sadly, a battle against a dragon that rivaled the size of the greatest dragon in history could never be fair. Although Vhagar is unquestionably terrifying, Balerion the Black Dread is still number one and holds that position. Criston Cole beats Joffrey Lonmouth to death. Laenor and Carl shared a happy ending, but however, the only remaining LGBTQ character was brutally murdered. Sir Joffrey Lonmouth definitely was not the most endearing person because he wanted to use Criston Cole as leverage against Rhaenyra, but the love Laenor and he had was real, and Laenor's cries after Joffrey's death were heartbreaking. It is still unclear what triggered Criston's fury. It's possible that Joffrey came back to retaliate against him, or that he simply stewed there until he found an opportunity to vent. However, this might match a lot of the dark and brutal moments from Game of Thrones. While screaming bloody murder, he keeps punching Joffrey in the skull even after it's obvious that he's dead. Joffrey Lonmouth is murdered by Criston most horrifically. Criston murders Joffrey in the presence of his love, Laenor, during Laenor and Rhaenyra's high public wedding. Tragically, Laenor is saddened and remembers his fallen love by naming his impending son Joffrey. Joffrey's death was unnecessary and only motivated by wrath and poorly channeled pain. Laenor is foremost entangled in the altercation between Sir Criston as well as Sir Joffrey, though it's hard to determine what exactly was stated or accomplished to start it. Sir Criston's rage compels him to physically hurt this person, who is a mirror image of his most profound humiliation. Criston finally cracks at this point, revealing his savage side. In George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood, Sir Criston Cole eventually executes Sir Joffrey Lonmouth, who is the Knight of Kisses, while he lingers until shortly after the betrothals. At a contest melee, Sir Criston goes berserk and kills Sir Joffrey there. It seems obvious that the House of the Dragon altered history in order to deliver us another Game of Thrones violent wedding. Elena Valerian crying to Vhagar to burn her. The effect of several deaths during Season 1 may have been more significant had specific individuals in House of the Dragon been given more time on screen. That was the situation with Elena Valerian, whose outstanding performance in The Princess and the Queen hurried her into her demise by the episode's conclusion. She portrays such a compelling character, and a less hurried chronology would have been better for her. Unfortunately, she's put in a position where she can't choose whether to live or to die, just like Queen Aemma did in the season opener. She decided to take matters into her own hands, while Daemon seemed to be swaying against, saving the infant at the price of the mother, such as Viserys. Dragonfire from Game of Thrones was only intended for enemies and evil men, but viewers still had to witness it consume a brave person. Not only is Laenor's death amongst the most heartbreaking in House of the Dragon, but it's also one of the most disturbing to witness. Laena chooses to perish by dragonfire instead of losing her life during childbirth. While still in labor and dealing with problems, Laena goes to Vhagar and gives her dragon the order to spew fire because she wants to die as a dragon rider. Laena was still a young woman, having her entire life ahead of her. Therefore, her death is terrible. Her demise must have been excruciatingly traumatic as well. She does, however, manage to pass away on her terms as well as in her own style, which is bold and beautiful. Aemma's death during childbirth. Even if the series finale concluded in a rather surprising way, Queen Aemma's death in the very first episode still maintains the record for the most horrifying demise. Many people responded on Twitter to the horrific and upsetting scene when Viserys decided to rescue the infant over Aemma with a fatal procedure, as they anticipated them returning to Westeros. And a Game of Thrones drama wouldn't be the same without plenty of blood. Aemma goes into labor at a tournament that her husband has organized to honor the birth of his rumored son, but the fetus is breech and doesn't deliver. The Great Maester instructs Viserys to make a hard decision, either give up one or lose them both. In an agonizing request for a male successor, the king orders the maesters to securely remove the baby by slicing through Aemma's belly without any anesthetic. In an effort to rescue their child, Viserys instructs the physicians to undertake surgery against Aemma's wishes and without her knowledge. There were arguments on opposing ends of the political spectrum regarding whether or not anything like this needed to be displayed on the television. The attempts are unsuccessful because Aemma and Baelon pass away. Viserys lost both of them because he preferred his unborn son over his wife. He later comes to regret what he did and starts to embrace Rhaenyra with utmost care and loyalty in place of Aemma. But it does not alter the past, and people who cared about Aemma are still affected by her passing.
I care not. I will have no part.
Criston Cole murders Lord Beesberry. Of course, Criston Cole, the Great, was not solely responsible for Joffrey's demise. He also killed Bill Patterson's character from Fleabag fame, Lord Lyman Beesberry, but the series made it appear more like a mishap. Criston yells at Lyman to sit down, and then he hastily attempts to push the elderly Master of Coins down way too hard, causing him to hit his head against the decorative balls that the small council uses to keep track of attendance. Criston strikes Lyman's head on the stone marker right on the table with a lot of power. Beesberry was an ancient guy who posed no threat, but Criston overreached when he spoke up in Rhaenyra's defense. Lyman Beesberry perished because he defended what was right. Even in the presence of those who would kill anybody who opposed them, Beesberry stood up for the throne's legitimate heirs and maintained his dignity. Unfortunately, Beesberry became just another casualty of Criston Cole's irrational fits of wrath. In Fire and Blood, Beesberry's death is somewhat mysterious, similar to the Strong's deaths. Criston is always to blame, although according to some, Beesberry's neck was sliced as a result of a clear-cut decision instead of an accident, according to one historian. This adjustment gives the narrative more subtlety, but if things had actually happened that way, it probably would have been much more painful. Rhea Royce's tragic death. Even in brief appearances on TV, certain characters leave a lasting impression. One such figure is Lady Rhea Royce. She eventually made an appearance in We Light the Way, just to pass away after being mentioned sporadically throughout the course of the first 4 episodes, and not in good ways. Even though it was not visible, the way Daemon hit her in the head with a rock was pretty disturbing. In the course of one episode, Rhea, Daemon's first wife, is both met and lost. Daemon chooses to see his wife despite not seeing or spending much time with her. However, he does not have nice intentions when he scares her horse and hits her in the head with a rock. Daemon's avarice and blatant desire to abandon Rhea in the past caused her to lose her life. Divorce is not an option in Westeros. Therefore, in order to get rid of her, Daemon shortens her life, causing her to pass away suddenly and with sadness. For those who were familiar with the book, this was a crucial point since, despite the fact that Daemon already had an alibi, absolving him of guilt, it had always been written that he was accountable. It just serves to highlight how violent and ruthless he is by nature, and had it not been for Rhaenyra, then Laenor would have met the same end. Nevertheless, Rhea insulted her husband's impotence as she left like a badass. Sir Harwin Strong's death. Casual viewers certainly recognized Sir Harwin Strong, along with his dad, Lord Lionel Strong, because of how wonderful they were when they were initially presented. Harwin is one of the finest dads in these stories, while Lionel is definitely one of the best hands when compared to Tywin Lannister, King Viserys, and Otto Hightower. While Lionel is sage and selfless, Harwin is compassionate and devoted to Rhaenyra as well as his boys, and is ready to live a lie just for their protection. When Larys prepares and executes the murder of his own brother and father, he demonstrates his wicked nature and ruthlessness. Audiences hear the agonizing moans of Harwin and Lionel as they burn to death. To placate Queen Alicent, Larys planned their murders. Sir Larys has several motives for planning his family's demise. He first recognized that Alicent's wishes were false. Although she did not give him a mandate, she desired Lionel Strong's exile from the realm. He did her a favor and gave the impression that he was doing so. Alicent may be implicated if anybody looks into this matter further. Thus, she must now maintain contact with Sir Larys Strong, the one who hopes to be rewarded for his efforts. When Alicent's son ascends the throne, he could demand that award, and if he doesn't get it, then he'll undoubtedly complain. People may wish to think that Lionel Strong and Sir Harwin passed away as a result of the curse that was on the seat of Harrenhal for the time being. Otto Hightower was able to reclaim his position as a result of the demise of Lionel, the king's hand. Rhaenyra subsequently lost her boyfriend Harwin as a result of Larys' deeds. In order to prove his allegiance to Alicent and ensure that she would return the favor, Larys had them slain. Even while they too may have benefited from much more screen time, when they finally did participate in the burning of Harrenhal, it was nonetheless horrifying. That's mostly because Larys Strong, a member of their own family, carried it out. It is interesting to note that despite there being many suspects in Fire and Blood, including Corlys Valerian, Daemon Targaryen, and even King Viserys I, it was their own relatives who gave the orders to kill them.
It's a boy.
Balon Targaryen. King Viserys Targaryen, played by Paddy Considine, takes the horrible decision to have his wife undergo a cesarean section treatment in the hopes of rescuing the unborn kid after learning that the child has breached in such a manner that a natural birth will kill both Emma as well as her child. However, given that it's the Middle Ages, Emma will undoubtedly die soon from blood loss. Nobody offers her an option or informs her that this is what is occurring. Instead, during one of the most horrifying sequences from both this series and the original show, the surgery is carried out. out. Emma passes away, and the kid is taken from her body. Emma goes through a lot while attempting to conceive Viserys' son. Tragically, Emma too passes away too soon. Emma accepts Viserys despite his desperate attempts to push her too far, because she understands that it's her obligation to do so. Nevertheless, the final effort to produce an heir was to come during her pregnancy with Baelon. It tragically ends with both Baelon as well as Emma dying when Viserys makes the harsh choice to preserve his son's life rather than that of his wife. As a result, Baelon Targaryen left the kingdom just before he had entered it, along with his mother, Emma. Daemon mockingly referred to Baelon as the heir for a day, honoring the dead.
He can keep his tongue.
Disarm him!
Sir Vaemon Valerian. Sir Vaemon Valerian's death was one of the most unexpected recent deaths. Daemon approaching behind him to use Dark Sister to sever Vaemon's head would go utterly unnoticed unless the spectator only pays attention to what is blurry in the background. After disrespecting Rhaenyra and her children, his death seemed inevitable in some fashion, but this monumentally came as a surprise. Due to the king's infirmity, Sir Otto Hightower, known as the King's Hand, presided on the Iron Throne in the king's place. Vaemon spoke about his intention to carry on the House Valerian dynasty by ascending the throne of Driftwood as the gathering got underway. Rhaenyra interfered by claiming that her son Lucerys, the progeny of Laenor Valerian, carries the same Valerian blood. She charged that Vaemond had replaced the legitimate successor to the throne to further his own aspirations. Before withdrawing, Vaemond said that the issue was one of blood rather than his own ambition. When Rhaenyra finally had a chance to speak, King Viserys arrived and resolved to take control of the situation by assuming the position of the Iron Throne. As Rhaenyra steps forward, Rhaenys declares her husband's desire for Driftmark to pass via Sir Laenor to his one trueborn son, Lucerys Valerian, and she joins her. As a result, King Viserys lost no time in declaring Lucerys as the rightful heir to the Driftwood throne. Vaemond denounced the king for breaching the law as well as centuries of custom by designating his daughter as successor before the conference could be adjourned. He said that he would not allow the king to determine who should bear the name Valerian. By questioning Lucerys' paternity and the number of lovers Rhaenyra has had, Vaemond oversteps his bounds. King Viserys gets angered by this and orders the removal of Vaemond's tongue. Daemon kills Vaemond by cutting off half of his skull, leaving his tongue in place before the guards can react. With that, Lucerys began to take the throne of Driftwood, ending Vaemond's attempts to usurp it. The accuracy of this attack is what makes it so alarming. Vaemond's skull is severed, but Daemon says he can keep his tongue, leaving his tongue still connected to his body. Fortunately, his agony ended there since, according to the book Fire and Blood, Rhaenyra later gave Vaemond to her own dragon, Syrax. This is scary enough as it is, but that would have guaranteed the most horrible death ever. Marvelous verdict. Fans have not been let down by House of the Dragon, and the narrative has merely just begun. There will undoubtedly be many more horrific and heartbreaking losses when the Dance of the Dragons approaches. Given the horrible deaths that have occurred so far, it's an incredible reality for fans that the upcoming season may be even more depressing than Season 1. No one is truly secure in House of the Dragon, as we've already learned from Game of Thrones. Any House of the Dragon character is susceptible to passing away at any point. In reality, Westeros did not see serious combat throughout Season 1 of the series. The Civil War is set to start up again in House of the Dragon's upcoming season, which will result in more fatalities. It's bound to be a gory ride, so everyone, keep your favorites close and buckle up. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.